My name is Victor. I am the occult technician, and this is Mind War. Mind War is sponsored by Victory Work Apparel. Use promo code Mind War. Join the Mind War today. Enlist at patreon.com/mindwar. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Folks, welcome back to this freezing cold episode of the Mind War podcast. Again, this is being recorded in January 2026. This is the final episode I'll be recording for today. I've been down here for about 3 hours already. I am freezing cold, but we're going to push through it. And again, this episode will be the final episode that we'll be reading from the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. We only have about 3.5 pages to go. So let's begin where we left off on page 134. It says this: first step after this is a focus on the body with the received health and fitness. The focus on health and strength is in the way that it is on the own body sphere. This leads to a deep level of community with the demon and a liberated energy. Again, so much of the work that we do is healing the mind, body, and spirit. Again, we heal the mind by letting go of all the societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets that hold us down. We heal our spirit by dealing with the emotions, the issues, the traumas that we've had. We free our spirit from those things. And in order to do this, you have to focus on the health of your body, because you have to physically be healthy enough to do this. I've told you before. You cannot be out there eating fast food, being an alcoholic, spilling your seed every day, and just being an exhausted slug. It's not going to work. You have to be healthy in order to do this work, to get it to truly function properly. We try to experience our body as effects and as an instrument of the demon. Again, the demon being our emotions, our human characteristics. Our physical body is the instrument. It's the tool that we use when we experience these demonic, emotions, right? Remember, we not only want to be healthy, but we have the idea in us that we are healthy, and convert the demonic forces that we use as tools. We must clearly perceive these forces in us. We must never propose that it is all black and white. And again, Hitler has highlighted this next section because, again, the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl was supposedly one of Hitler's favorite books. There was an author who did some research in a book called Hitler's Library, where he went through all of Hitler's books. And this, Hitler's copy of the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl that was given to him by Dr. Ernst Schertl was the most worn out book in Hitler's collection. It had all sorts of tattered pages and highlights on the side, and this part was highlighted again by Adolf Hitler. It says, we must never propose that it is all black and white, but we must always maintain that all suggestive phenomenon, aka imagination, means reality and has a very real impact. Reality is all that works. All imagination tracks closely with the basic practices of magic. Again, reality is all that works. So the reality that we create is because of the work that we do. And all imagination tracks closely with the basic practices of magic. I have taught you and shared with you nothing more than the basics of magic. Again, I am a basic magician. The very basics of what I've done here. I haven't done any major world transforming. I've transformed my own personal world, and we're going to, follow up, and we're going to finish that story over the next few episodes. In the finale here in this Mind War series on magic. But for all of you, the Mind Warriors, Citizen Samurais, Guerrilla Gurus, the Warrior Monks, the Volk, the Folk, you are going to be the ones who will be transforming the world through your advanced practices of magic. As well as on your own body, you can act on third parties and any other items if they are further away. Success is always dependent on the field of concentration and the intensity of ecstasy currently reachable. To aid in concentration, a picture of the other, a garment by him, or another item brings us closer with the relevant persons. So again, if you're trying to have magical effects on other people, whatever they may be, whether it's trying to get your crush to fall in love with you, again, be careful about that kind of stuff. It may backfire on you. Or trying to push out your hatred towards your enemy, whatever it is that you're doing. Again, this work, I haven't told you why to do any of this work. I'm not telling you what to believe or how to believe. I'm just giving you the tools on how to be successful in your practices of magic. You can do whatever you want with it. But one of the things here is if you are trying to affect a person, having an item from them or at least a picture of them is really going to help. First, however, it is beneficial to refrain from imposing negative effects to others and to restrict oneself to a more diffuse impact on the environment. Again, maybe don't try to curse people with all this stuff. A lot of that stuff I think is going to backfire on you. Be very careful about it. Maybe if you need to create your own protective spell in a way, if you need to create a protective barrier around yourself to not be affected by other people, that's one thing. But be careful of trying to send your energy out towards others. It could come back to you threefold. You should try instead to concentrate on certain individual effects because you know the natural ways of those forces are still insufficient and contributes only unnecessary and harmful confusion in those forces by astutely maintaining individual targets instead of a certain power over the cosmic forces as a whole. Again, you cannot control the cosmic dynamic forces. You cannot go out there and harness these things for your egotistical means. If you do, it's going to backfire on you. It's going to come back, again, threefold. That's usually what happens. So be careful out there. The cosmic forces lead naturally to the highest achievement of that. Allowing the current situation of your destiny lies under the diffuse magical influence. Again, when I set out on this work, it was out of desperation. I believed in nothing. I had reached the lowest point in my adult life. And I just wanted to try something. And that's why I started this art project. That's why I started practicing magic. And as soon as I did, I started using it for egotistical ways. I thought I had to be a great podcaster. I thought maybe I'll create a clothing company and sell t-shirts and merch for other podcasts, right? I had egotistical thoughts about that. All of that fell apart, opening up and freeing a path in front of me for one of the most epic stories ever told on podcasting. The year's worth of work I did on the Mind War series on the Gateway Experience tapes that ended up in the death of my mother. I mean, just amazing story there. And then, of course, this almost year-long series of the Mind War where we worked on magic. And I have explained to you how all of this has worked, right? And that was the destiny of my work. Set aside the ego, set aside the I want. We got rid of that. All of that burned up in a pile of ash. And out of that, a phoenix rose of, again, this just epic story that was the destiny of my work. You must want them, yes, but not with obsession at every single stage. Some success will become apparent at a later time naturally that cannot be achieved at the moment with violent intent. Again, even as you go through your magical practices, there may be failures, but again, they're going to lead you towards your success. Be open to it. Be open to pivot when you need to, taking a different path when it opens up. One branch of the path is going to kind of fade off into the dark, but you'll see another one open up. Don't be upset about it. Just go with it and understand, because you'll be drawn to it. That's the beauty of magic. It's that intuition that draws you forward. Similarly, it must be understood that magic effects rarely occur in exactly the form and temporal sequence as you may wish or think. I have been trying to say that throughout this entire series. Let me read that again. It must be understood that magical effects rarely occur in exactly the form and the temporal sequence as you may wish or think. Magic does not work the way you thought it was, the way you want it to. It just doesn't work that way. That's the beauty of magic. When you truly give yourselves over to it, when you truly allow yourselves to follow the intuitive flow of magic, where you follow your intuition and it just becomes so beautiful. So many epic things and real amazing things will start to happen in your life. You just have to have faith in it. You have to trust it. Similar to how the banker will not win an exact certain amount in a specific deal at a specific time, but that his transaction will be successful as a whole. Again, investing my last $3,000 back in 2020 into a company called Palantir, which has rewarded me handsomely. Direct failures you must not fear. Again, don't fear the failure. This part was, again, highlighted by Adolf Hitler. Failures are mountains. They must be exceeded. And often we find the most beautiful places only behind those mountains. We must not be despondent when concerned that the world is against us and the strongest spell remains ineffective. Our demon is struggling, and he is struggling in pain and hardship. We must suffer with him to share victory with him. And that is exactly how that first year and a half, almost 2 years of my magical journey felt. It felt like suffering and pain and confusion and not knowing what I was doing and watching things fail over and over again. But again, that path finally became clear and opened up for me to do one of the most epic series in podcasting history, the Mind War series on the Gateway Experience tapes. It just was beautiful. I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of the content that I've made here in this Mind War series on magic. It just is worth all the failures, stepping over the dead bodies of your failures and moving forward. The individual magical special capabilities such as clairvoyance, release of astral bodies, materialization power, psychokinesis, etc., arise from the specified magic basic facts by themselves. It is always better just to focus the magical, demonical forces on one idea and to set a desirable goal. Again, so amazing to think that Dr. Ernst Schertl, back in the early 1900s, this book was published in 1923. I think we figured that out, right? He's talking about clairvoyance, astral bodies, having out-of-body experiences, astral travel, astral projection, right? Materialization, aka manifestation, and psychokinesis, these kind of these amazing telepathy type powers that we have. It arises by specified magic basic facts by themselves. It is always better just to focus on the magical, demonical forces on one idea and to set a desirable goal. Again, just don't go into this stuff saying, I'm going to use a specific type of magic to do a specific type of thing. Allow yourself to set your mind on the goal, do the basic magical preparation process, go through the steps, get yourself into the state of somnambulance, and then the magical powers and whatever the process is that is needed will occur. That's the beauty of it. For simple clairvoyance, it is enough to achieve a relatively small change in your state of mind. Otherwise, just a light trance state can be initiated by autosuggestion, hypnosis, and through magnetic lines using the Robert Bloom radical dynamic apparatus. Okay, I don't know what this apparatus is. We've talked about that in past episodes of the Mind War podcast with people who try to sell these little weird devices you put around your head. None of that's needed. That's not how this works. It's kind of funny that he put that in there. But again, a state of hypnosis allows you to kind of have this clairvoyance. And again, once you go through the hardcore through 3 years and you do the extreme intense somnambulism through your magical rituals, you will get to a place just like I am at today where I can't do those things anymore physically. But now I just take a few deep breaths. I let myself relax. I allow myself to just get into that deep state of relaxation very quickly before I pull the cards, before I have any type of intuitive thoughts, right? They're not nearly as intense as they were before. They're not nearly a way of changing and transforming my life. Those transformations have already occurred. I'm now living my new life. I'm living my reborn life now. You're seeing the reborn man, right? But again, you can still do it in a mild version, in a lesser version, a less intense version, and that's where I'm at today. It is only through experience that one can tell the difference between a light hallucination and an act of clairvoyance. The release of astral bodies is only a further special case in these phenomena. Again, it's a special case to do out-of-body experiences and astral projection. And with the Gateway Experience tapes, you can achieve it over and over and over again. There's 48 tapes total, and in almost every one of them, you're having these just wild, extreme, and intense out-of-body experiences, and then you can listen to the tapes as many times as you want. It's so beautiful to think that we live in a time where we have the scientific steps. We've talked about it here. The low-dose THC, psilocybin, listening to the Gateway Experience tapes, doing your semen retention, doing your kundalini, doing your breath work, listening to the hypnotic music. It's so easy. The steps are right there. We've talked about it 1,000 times. And you can do this. It doesn't have to be a special case. I mean, of course, it is special, but it doesn't have to be fleeting. It doesn't have to be something that you can't achieve anymore. Now we can do it over and over and over again and get back into that primordial, ancestral, magical flow of antiquity. The techniques to this act are also independent in part and can be achieved by education and practice. You're getting the education now, you have to do the practice yourself. The idea is so intensely and clearly as possible concentrate on a remote location of the local features, people, etc. to help ensure success. You will soon have the experience of actually seeing the people concerned and feel their proximity, which will increase in intensity through visualization. Again, he's talking about remote viewing, astral projection, and astral travel. All things that we learned through the Gateway Experience tapes were talked about by Dr. Ernst Schertl in the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice. Just amazing. Again, a confirmation. The philosophy is that true magic is not just education. The magic world should be a learned way of life and means an understanding of our darkest forces, and therefore we must undergo a profound transformation. Again, through the darkness, through the abyss, through your ability to not fear, because there is no fear here in the Mind War. You do not fear the abyss. You do not fear the darkness. Instead, you embrace it and you commune with it. You find that it's one of the most beautiful places. I loved the abyss more than I did the absolute. That final tape of the Gateway Experience tapes where you see the brilliance of God or the absolute there in front of you. It's really bright, folks. It's great and all. But man, floating in the abyss, in the darkness, the warmth, the comfort, the pain-free, that's where I want to be. And all of this practice of going through the darkest forces, the darkest parts of your life, that's how you undergo a profound transformation. You've seen that transformation in me. From the very first episode of the Mind War podcast, from my very first introduction to all of you on Instagram, it's been a massive transformation. I am the proof that magic works. I am the proof that magic is real. All true magic is repentance, going back to the time when the deity was still alive, and only when the deity opens its eyes will a magician be able to truly see. This idea of the going back in time, again, going back in time, whether it's in your own life or reaching back into the feelings of your ancestors, going back into a time before the organizations, corporations, and institutions corrupted you, right? Before they corrupted your heart and your mind and your body, right? You have to go back. You have to go back in time to a more childlike, elementary style of thought and feeling. That's where our true nature is. Not the corruption and the structure and the insanity of the world that man has created. This next sentence is the final sentence that was highlighted by Adolf Hitler in the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl, and it says this: only the individual who opens the eyes of the deity is given the gift to pass it to others and thus produce new peoples and new circles of being. And that, if anything, is going to be a side effect of the Mind War podcast, creating a new people, creating a new folk, creating a new Volk known as the Mind Warriors, Citizen Samurais, Guerrilla Gurus, and Warrior Monks. And it is all of you who will go out and change the world. You will create new circles of being. You will create the new world. You will create a new order. We were promised this to us. So this is our inheritance, and we take it seriously and we demand it. The ability to determine circumscribed accomplishments in magical elements, crypto, spectroscopy, psychometrics, prophecy, telekinesis, telepathy, is in all cases due to a special innate talent, often spontaneously gaining insight and understanding of the nature of the universe. It should be understood, however, if one begins with the intent to seriously exercising such individual acts in the study of magic, that one would increase the possibility of success and make it much more difficult to get a negative result. The effect of any magic making depends on the intensity and depth of the target ecstasy, and by increasing such through practice brings one closer to one's own demon. Each force component, thought, and effort which is not used directly in the production of such ecstasy serves no purpose. So then is the vicious circle that could be leading to disappointment. Again, my magical practice, my 3 years of intense magical practice, I was basically alone. I think about halfway through is when I quit my job at the library and really spent a year and a half in real isolation, guarded from the profane, and that's where some of the most intense magical experiences happen. This intense feelings of ecstasy, this serious and extreme exercising and practice of magic that created these major transformations in my life. This is where I was able to seriously gain the knowledge, the occult knowledge that's been hidden from us, this exact knowledge that I'm sharing with all of you through my experiences. Again, I am the proof that magic is real. Whether or not you choose to exercise and develop any magical ability, it must be said that what abilities are developed are totally dependent on the level of ecstasy you obtain. Also, any indiscriminate experimentation of certain phenomenon is strongly advised against. Curiosity without commitment destroys everything. We should calmly accept the fact that if a serious commitment is not present in these studies, disaster could occur both physically and mentally. Those who only come around for the magic tricks will never develop any understanding as to its nature. Again, you have to be very serious about this work. You cannot go into it trying to fulfill your will. Allow the magic to work through you. Allow your magical abilities to develop naturally. Don't try to force your way into doing specific type of magical exercises or again, magical abilities. Allow them to flourish in you. You'll learn. The path will be shown to you. The abilities that you have will be awakened in you. Just accept it. Go with it, go with the flow, and amazing things will happen in your magical transformation. The first and only important thing is communion with the demon. Again, you are not controlling the demon. The demon is simply your emotions. Demons are the characters that were created to explain to us and try to teach us what these human emotions, these human characteristics actually are. They're just a physical representation of them. And again, it's the first and most important thing is communion with the demon. We're not controlling them. We are communing with our emotions. We're not trying to control our emotions. We are communing with them. This act, compared to everything else, is just a waste of energy. But understand this communion should never be the starting point in study. Any tendency to pursue profane occult phenomenon should therefore initially be avoided. They occur quite naturally as soon as their time has come. Again, don't try to force it. Don't try to look and see what other, magical people who are practicing all sorts of demonic magic as far as the mainstream is concerned, what they say is demonic magic. Don't look to them and say, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to copy what they're doing. Don't do that. That's what's going to lead into destruction and disaster in your work. Instead, go with the flow. Allow the abilities to happen as they happen. Just let the magic happen. Here is the final paragraph to the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. But even if such phenomena do not occur, it is a devotion to the magic, as in this book was written, which gives us a fundamental and crucial understanding for our entire existence. It gives us the gift, in a sense, to help pursue or persuade the hidden gods to make themselves known. Only by doing magic, through practice and gaining experience, will we recognize divinity and learn to be one with her. This is the goal, the end. Again, you set your mind out to have certain magical phenomena. If it doesn't occur, it's the devotion to magic that is important. Just as in the way that Dr. Ernst Schertl devoted himself to writing this book, to sharing the information he found with all of us, the same way that I'm sharing this information that I've learned with all of you, which gives us the fundamental and crucial understanding of our entire existence. I do in so many ways feel like I have a much better understanding of our existence as humans, why we are here. We've seen so many amazing different layers that lay beyond life after death as we go through the Gateway Experience tapes. We get to experience those type of things. We have a better understanding now of life here on the planet while we are alive, what our purpose is. Again, our main purpose, the physical body, is to reproduce, is to have children. And then the spiritual body, the spirit, the heart, right? It's to understand and commune with our emotions and understand who we truly are outside of the physical body. And it gives us the gift, in a sense, to help persuade the hidden gods to make themselves known. That's absolutely what has happened. The occult gods, they've shown themselves to me. Why they are here, why they, interfere in a way with our lives, why they work with us. It's just a beautiful feeling. And again, only by doing magic, through practice and gaining experience. Again, you have to do this practice. You have to practice it. It has to become routine part of your life for years, Again, for me, it was 3 years, every 2 weeks, the new moon, the full moon, doing these rituals over and over and over again, and then gaining and having the experiences. The experience is what I longed for. It's what was lacking from the organizations, corporations, and institutions. It's what was lacking from society, culture, and most importantly, religion, was experience. I had experiences as a young man, as a teenager, taking mushrooms. I said, this is an experience. Something is happening to me, something supernatural, something spiritual. It's not just doing things by the number. You have to have these experiences in the way that I've shared it with you through the Gateway Experience tapes, combined with the practice of magic, this ritual and ceremonial magic. This is how you have the experiences in a scientific way, meaning that you can do them over and over and over again. And then when you have your experiences, the only commandment here in the Mind War is you have to share them with others. Only when you do this will we recognize divinity and learn to be one with her. This is the goal. The goal is to recognize that divinity, that connectedness, what is bigger than all of us, that purpose for all of the universe, for all of life, the universal experiences that we all go through. That is the goal. And that is the end of the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. Again, supposedly one of Adolf Hitler's favorite books. There was an author who did a book called Hitler's Library, and where he went through Hitler's library and talked about all the different books he found there, and he found that the copy of the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice that was given to Adolf Hitler by Dr. Ernst Schertl back in the early 1920s, Hitler's copy of this book was the most worn out. There was all sorts of highlights on it. And again, this is occult knowledge. This is occult hidden knowledge right here in this book. It's a book that you don't hear about. It's a book that, really they plaster Hitler's picture and his name all over it in order to keep people away from it. The conspiracies, the controversies that go on with the authors of all the books that we've worked through here in the Mind War podcast. We had to get past all of those to get to this hidden knowledge. It's amazing to think that basically what we've studied through this Mind War series on magic could be considered Nazi magic. This is simple magic. It's profound. It's beautiful. It's transformative in so many ways, not just personal, but for the folk, for the Volk. We see where the motivation and the knowledge came from to create one of the most amazing empires of world history. Of course, that empire has been demonized. It has been told it's the most evil thing that has ever happened to man. But I think, again, when we strip away those conspiracies and those controversies and those lies, we see a people who really wanted to come together, commune together in a life that stemmed with magical flow, a life that reached back into antiquity, to the primeval days. Prior to even back then, this was 100 years ago, this was all happening. And that was just the industrial age. It wasn't even with the technological age that's been placed over all of us now. We are even deeper in the depths of being stripped of our magical abilities. So we have an even harder battle, a harder uphill climb than even those brothers and sisters and cousins and family members back in Europe who had to go through this same thing over 100 years ago. We are in the same boat they are. And only through this work will we be able to see a revival of that spirit from 100 years ago. We can only hope that a new culture, we can only hope that a new world, and we can only hope that a new order will be created through the work that we've done here in the Mind War podcast. And when we return, we are going to do our final section of my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician in just a moment. All right, welcome back, folks. We are going to finish up my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician. We are going to start with a post from September 22nd, 2025. This was a new moon card pull. This was Furfur, the 34th demon of the Gwedia. He is a great and mighty Earl appearing in the form of an heart with a fiery tail. He never speaks the truth unless he is compelled or brought up within the triangle. Being therein, he will take upon himself the form of an angel. And again, the triangle, that symbol that you've seen me use, the wooden triangle with the circle in the middle, again, a combination of the etherical, spiritual world that you see in the sigil behind me, and again, the physical world that you see in the American flag triangle in front of me. Again, this is where you pull the demons into the reality, into our physical world is the triangle. You pull them through the circle, which is the esoteric, the etheric, the liquid, right? The abyss. That's where we pull them out of. And again, it's very strange that Alcoholics Anonymous uses this symbol. I don't know if any of the members of AA actually know that they're practicing demonology or demonolatry. Maybe they do. Maybe the highest levels of AA, because AA is a secret society, that's what they learn. So I thought that was interesting there. And then the final picture there from that post from the night of September 22nd, 2025. You see the candle in front of a very cool plant. It's this weird squiggly plant that we planted in the memorial garden for my mother. So the flower bed that you're seeing there's a little name tape on it with my mother's name and her date of birth and her death date. That is where we sprinkled her ashes. She is underneath those flowers there. And so that is a picture again of sort of my mother's grave, if you will. Very, very intense there. So the next picture, or the next post, October 6th, 2025, the Page of Cups. This was a full moon. There wasn't much to it. The Page of Cups is represented by a skull overflowing with oranges and orange blossoms. This card concerns itself with budding relationships and ventures, creativity, new desire, and intuition. Again, so many new things were happening in my life at this time. The next post, October 9th, 2025. I really like this one. So the Department of Defense was renamed the Department of War, and they came out with a new logo called the Department of War. And so, of course, I changed that to the Department of Mind War. I made a few changes there. I made the eagle have two heads who is looking left and right. I believe that is a symbol of the secret societies. You often see the double-headed eagle looking to the left and right, meaning you're kind of looking forward and beyond the black and white duality of the magic we do. I replaced the shield that the eagle had with the sigil here that you see behind me. I replaced some other symbols that they had there on the side with the American flag triangle logo there. And instead of it saying Department of War for the United States, it says Department of Mind War for the New World Order. Because again, ultimately what we're doing here through the Mind War podcast is the creation of a new culture, a new society, a new world, a new order, the promised inheritance. We were promised this, and we take it very seriously. The next post there, an eye for an eye shall be the whole of the law. Again, this was at a time where we saw the death of Zarina Zarutska. We saw the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It was really boiling up. The internet was just on fire with these stories. There was so much anger. And really, at some point, we look at the law and we see it failing. Law fails us every day. The victims never receive justice. Those who are coming against us and doing these crimes, the violence and everything, they're let out over and over and over again to recommit these crimes the same way that the man who killed that beautiful young woman on the train. That same story has occurred over and over and over again since then. It's outrageous. And that's, again, we need to, at some point in this country, at some point in the West, we need to push all the laws aside and say there shall be one law when we deal with these type of people, and it is an eye for an eye shall be the whole of the law. Next, we see, it was difficult for me to make this. I've had this thought in my mind basically about our political systems and how we're all in different political camps. And so you start with people who are in the moderate center. This, again, were people like my parents who voted for every single winning president except Joe Biden, because, again, maybe a interfered with election, right? They voted for the winning president for decades. Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, right? And then again, not Biden, but again, interfered with election. And then Trump again. They are not Democrat or Republican. They are the moderate centrists of America. But again, they've failed us, right? And then, so when you go down the different layers, we have the moderate left who call themselves Democrats. Again, my parents were not really Democrat or Republican because they voted on both sides. And then you have moderate right who call themselves Republicans. That's the basis of where the parties start. Then you have left-wing progressives. That's kind of the left wing of the party. Things get a little more intense. Or you have right-wing who consider themselves conservatives. Again, they're still milquetoast, right? There's the Republicans who are bland. There are conservatives who are milquetoast. They're mostly more like party people, more Zionism, stuff like that. And then the progressive left, you see where they start to become a little more liberal in their thought process. They move away from just kind of the basic ideas of the Democrat Party. They get a little more intense. And then next you have the extreme left, who are the socialists. This is the newest form of left politics, right? And then on the right, you have extreme right, who are the nationalists. Again, one of the only problems that I see with the extreme left, the socialism, is they keep pushing socialism not for the American people. They push it for the foreigners, for the illegal aliens. That's the part that drives me crazy about them. Socialism isn't a bad thing, where we take the bounty of the United States and give it back to the American citizen. That's the problem with the socialist left, the extreme left of the Democrat Party, is they want to give everything to the illegal alien, to the criminal. They're always supporting the wrong side. If they just focus their socialism on heritage Americans, real American nationalists, we would get along just fine. But again, they have to push all the extreme things where, the Democrats, yeah, we support gay people. And then it's the progressives, yeah, we support the trans and all this other stuff. And then you go to the extreme left and it just gets more and more perverted and crazier, right? Again, that extreme right, the nationalists, were just trying to focus on not just America first, but America only. Because when you say America first, that leaves the door open for more than America, where we're, again, thinking outside of the borders. Yeah, sure, we have to do it a little bit, but for quite a long time, we need to refocus specifically on the nation here, right? And then the next layer, the layer that hasn't really happened yet, the one political party that hasn't yet occurred, but will one of these days, very soon, is extreme center, extreme centrism, center X, where the extreme left socialists and the extreme right nationalists come together. There can be a uniting of the two, but it can only occur with extreme common sense. And then the final part of that post, the ADL got rid of their glossary of extremism and hate, right? They had taken it down off their website. So right before they did, I made my own Mind War version of an ADL post that says the Mind War podcast is hosted by Victor, the occult technician. Victor promotes healing the mind, body, and spirit through the scientific practice of magic. standing against the organizations, corporations, and institutions that have polluted our minds, poisoned our bodies, and corrupted our souls. Join the mind war today. And as always, remember, folks, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is mind war. And it says it's classified as a pseudo-psyop, center X extreme centrism. That was just a fun post. I really like that one there. Again, kind of reaching out more into the political side of things, getting into that world a little bit more and trying to express my side of the story. Next, October 9th, 2025, interesting video. So this is about AIPAC, which is, I think, like an Israeli lobby, a political lobby that really has some serious power over the United States government. And once I noticed that their logo looks a lot like the triangle American flag, logo that I've created here, but it's basically, it looks like two of them, one on its side, one up, straight up, looks like the Star of David. They really, it looks a lot like the logo that I have here. So what I did is I kind of overlaid my logo over theirs, kind of showing how they're exactly the same in so many ways. And then I put the document that says I have the trademark, because I have trademarked through the United States government this logo that you see in front of me, right? So I thought that was just kind of funny, right? So let me get a drink here, folks. All right, so the next post was from October 12th, 2025. This was just a tribute to the late, great Aleister Crowley, known as the most evil man in the world. I don't know a whole lot about him. Again, tons of conspiracy and controversy surrounding him. What is true and what's not, who knows? He's probably been demonized. I think he did a lot of what was considered chaos magic, the same way that we do here. I think he went into the OTO, I believe, and really took over the entire organization. And I think the same way that I look at secret societies right now and feel, again, not because I've had any association with them, but I've listened to other young men who've gone into secret societies and come out, and they were very disenfranchised. They did not find magic there. They didn't find any real experiences. And I just learned from them. And, I think what Aleister Crowley did is he went into these secret societies that were just painting by number, and he turned over the table the same way that Jesus did in his day, right? And he was whipping them all the master masons and all, and he's get out. We need to get back to practicing real magic and having real experiences. I think that's probably the actual nature of the great works that Aleister Crowley did. Again, he did all sorts of things supposedly that were horrific or whatever. Who knows? Could be conspiracy, could be controversy, just layered on top of him in order to get people to stay away and keep the information that he was trying to share with all of us hidden, right? Again, they do it over and over and over again. And so, of course, I overlaid my face on one of his most famous pictures. I put the triangle American flag logo on his hat, and the book that he had in front of him, I put my sigil on it, where normally there was a pentagram, I think. And that got a lot of views. I think people really liked that one. And of course, Ozzy Osbourne's Mr. Crowley music was playing in the back. Next post, October 13th, 2025, you have my California Republic logo. Again, I lived in California for 20 years. It's my home away from home. I loved it and hated it. It was such an amazing place, but it was very difficult to live in. So, of course, I had to make a piece of physical art as sort of a recognition of my time there. And there's a great song by Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers, and it's talking about California, and I just wrote California Dreamin' just because I was thinking about those days in California. Next, October 21st, 2025, we pulled the card of Marbus. The fifth spirit is Marbus. He is a great president and appears at first in the form of a great lion, but afterwards, at the request of the magician, puts on a human form. Again, these explanations or these descriptions of these demons, they're often talk about either the magician or the exorcist. It depends on which way you're trying to commune with them, right? He answers truthfully concerning things hidden or secret. He causes diseases and cures them. He gives great wisdom and knowledge in mechanical arts and can change men into other shapes. Okay, so he gives truthful answers concerning things that are hidden or secret. So again, if you have questions about hidden knowledge or secret knowledge, you call upon Marbas. He causes diseases and cures them. If you want to curse someone with a disease, you would call upon Marbas. If you want to cure your own disease or the disease of someone else, you call upon Marbas. And he gives great wisdom and knowledge in mechanical arts. So again, if you are an engineer, you would be working with Marbas. And he can change men into other shapes. We're not talking about changing yourself into a lion or something like that. No, you change yourself from your unhealthy self that's maybe too overweight into a healthy person who is filled with muscle. You call upon Marbas to help you with that. Next post, October 29th, 2025. This one is called Fright Wing. So at this point, the right-wing grifters, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassinations, were going crazy. Everyone was fighting for who was going to kind of take his place. So I have here, we have Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, and what the hell's the last guy's name there? I can't think of it. Sorry, folks. But basically, I took their heads, I blacked out their eyes. This was around Halloween time. And I made them look like Halloween masks. And instead of right wing, I said Fright Wing from the movie Fright Night. And basically I said, which mask, which right wing mask are you going to put on? Which right wing hero are you going to wear for Halloween, right? I thought that was kind of funny. Gosh, I can't remember that guy's name. Sorry about that. So the next is October 29th, 2025. This is when I started using AI in my art, and you will be seeing a lot more AI in the future. I found that I've been able to make some really interesting artwork very quickly, and I hope to continue that work as I go on over the rest of this 3-year art project. But basically, I took the classic Uncle Vic picture, and I put it through Google's Gemini. Of course, I have Gemini twins, so I'm using the Gemini AI, and I simply asked it to turn it into a cartoon. It looked a lot like a G.I. Joe character. Again, one of my favorite cartoons and favorite toy franchises from when I was a child. So it was so cool to now have Uncle Vic become a member of kind of the G.I. Joe universe. And it says, and knowing is half the battle, join the mind war today, right? So that was a fun post. Next, from November 3rd, 2025, post titled Why We Fight. This was just a clip. It was about 10 minutes that I made from an earlier episode here in the Mind War series on magic, where I was talking about why we do this work, why we fight, because of things like fentanyl that killed my best friend Nate, because of things like the Judeo-Christian Islamic fairy tale that have stolen the mind of my friend Joey, aka Deog. Right? This is why we fight. We fight against the organizations, corporations, and institutions that have polluted our minds, poisoned our bodies, and corrupted our souls. We remove the societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets. We have to do that in order to save ourselves, in order to save ourselves from the drug addiction that kills us, in order to save ourselves from the religious fairy tales that poison our minds and keep us corrupted in this weird cult for 25 years, right? So that's what that video was about. Next, November 6th, 2025. Again, this is the next post in that series that I mentioned in the last episode, where I took the obsidian mirror, the black mirror, placed it down on the table in the backyard. And this time instead of flowers, I used basically red and yellow leaves that had fallen. This was the fall version of this picture. I really love this one. We got the White Stripes, Dead Leaves song playing, and it just is just another great picture. You see the darkness of the black mirror. It just looks like a pit. You can reach your hand right into the abyss. I really like that one. We then have a picture of the moon. If you look in the upper left hand corner, you see the 3 stars there. And then I, again, finished that ritual up in my bedroom over at the Mind War Manor. We got the Black Mirror. We pulled the Two of Wands. It signifies courage and power and venturing forward into new experiences without fear. There is no fear here in the Mind War. Next, November 8th, 2025, again, reaching into that kind of political world, because at this time, again, with Charlie Kirk's assassination, we saw the rise of Nick Fuentes. We saw the rise of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. We saw the, Tim Pool making a specific direction, going in a specific direction, right? And everyone was kind of jockeying and fighting for who's going to take power over the right wing now. And one of the things that I kept seeing over and over and over again is this America First idea, which is good. That's positive. That's nationalism, American nationalism. That's a good thing. But it keeps getting saddled with Christ is King. It's like they cannot separate the idea of being an American nationalist without being a Christian, and that's where the downfall of the movement will happen. We have to separate from Christianity. The entire Abrahamic paradigm has to be wiped out of our minds. It has to be just turned into an ancient fairy tale that is just frowned upon, because it is so manipulative. It is such a lie. It's all three versions of it, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all end up in this fiery end times destruction of humanity. That's the goal of all three of them. They hate the world. They hate their fellow man. It has to be wiped out in the mind virus of the Judeo-Christian Islamic fairy tales. It has to be wiped out. We have to look to reason. We have to look to common sense, and we can do it with spirituality. And that's what I've taught here in the Mind War podcast. Through the series on the Gateway Experience tapes, and now through the series on magic, I've proven to you that you can have extreme, intense, real spiritual experiences outside of the society, cultural, and most important, religion. You can have these spiritual experiences without the nonsense that's been forced upon us. The beauty is you can call to any of it. You can find knowledge in all of it, if you will, but you don't have to worship these things. You don't have to surround yourself in the box of any of these things. That's the problem. Break free of the box, right? Get out of the box of whatever organization, corporation, or institution that you're part of now, and free your mind so you can have real experiences. And that's what I tried to talk about here. And I did a survey. There's only 12 respondents, and sadly, I said America First or Christ is King, and 75% said Christ is King. We are in so much trouble if that's where the right is going, right? If Christianity is more important to them than American nationalism, this movement will just fail, and that's sad. Next, November 11th, 2025, I did the Tree of Death, also known as the Tree of Life. This is from the Kabbalah. Again, I've said before, I think a lot of what we've uncovered here is from the Kabbalah. I think a lot of what we've uncovered here is from the Rosicrucians, the Rose Cross, right? I think a lot of these secret societies and these different spiritual practices, they all stem back to the same thing. I think they usurp this universal magic. Each of the organizations that call themselves spiritual or religious or whatever, they usurp universal magic. And they corrupt it and call it their own and say only through them can you practice real magic. But then at the same time, they tell you that magic is evil and you shouldn't practice it, right? So that's what we do here in the Mind War podcast. We strip away all of those boxes that people are forced into where you can only believe in a certain set of rules, and we open it up through this chaos magic. And so that's what my version of the Tree of Life, or as I call it, the Tree of Death, represents. So one of the things that you're going to see here is the American flag triangle logo. The place that it sits on the Tree of Death there is known as the abyss. There's normally not a symbol there. And what you see is sort of the pentagram. And that represents the abyss, right? There is no symbol there. Each of these other symbols represents the different parts of human characteristics, right? So the bottom represents your root chakra, your groin, and all the animalistic urges that we have. Whereas the top one, the white symbol, the white sigil you see there represents our crown chakra, the spirit, the thinking outside of our own minds, right? The spiritual side of us. And then again, each of the other sigils there represent another portion or another example of a human characteristic. But there in the middle is the abyss. And it talks about how you have to cross the abyss in order to get to that crown chakra. And again, through the Gateway Experience tapes, you cross through the abyss. And the reason I planted my logo, my flag, right there in the middle of the abyss is because that's where we belong. We come from the abyss and we return to the abyss. One of the issues that we see here with this idea of the absolute, where we go in this world of light, this brilliant, bright light. That light is made of energy. And ultimately, at the end of the universe, when the universe is completely dissolved and disappeared, all of that energy will disappear. Energy cannot be constant for all of eternity, for all of infinity. Eventually, all of this is going to disappear. Every planet will dissolve. Every energetic plasma blob that's out there in the universe will dissolve. Every speck of light will disappear. It all has to be destroyed at some point, and it will be nothing left but the darkness of the abyss. Again, that's where we came from. That's where we return to. That is our true nature. Next, November 21st, 2025, you see again there over at the Mind War Manor in my room. That is the basically my setup where I do my editing for the podcast. So you see I got my different monitors there. I'm editing an episode. And that night, while I'm doing my editing, I also do a ritual. This was a new moon ritual. I pricked my finger there. I gave my drop of blood offering to the demon that I was working with that day. Then I pulled the card of Belith, the 13th demon of the Gwedia, and that was again a new moon card pull. And then November 24th, 2025. This is the episode that I recorded where I showed all of you and talked to all of you about doing your third eye, where you stare into a mirror, you look through it with the stare, you allow your eyes to kind of, see double vision, and you have two separate versions of your face until till the two eyes meet together in one, and this is how you actually see your third eye in reality. And of course, you do it in the state of somnambulance with the psilocybin kicking in. It is wild. It's very hallucinatory, but you're using the scientific method of allowing your vision to kind of see double vision, where you see two versions of yourself overlaid, where that third eye appears. And when you do, you try to look at the third eye because it's so jarring, it's so strange to see this eye appear in the middle of your forehead that it starts to look away in its own. The harder you try to look at it, the more it looks away on its own. It looks like it's its own eyeball, like it has its own life force to it. Very strange, very intense. But again, this is the work that we do here in the Mind War podcast. I've proven to you over and over and over again, things like facing your demons and seeing your third eye. These aren't just esoteric stories from the past, but they are real scientific practices that magicians did in the past. And they told you about it in these kind of esoteric fairy tales in a way, but we can recreate them. We can do them for real scientifically over and over and over again. Next post, December 5th, 2025, another new moon. We pull the 9 of Cups. It talks all about abundance and good fortune, and this was all happening, right after Thanksgiving. We had a very abundant time, a lot of food. We were preparing for the Christmas holiday, which was also very abundant, very nice. December 13th, 2025, clip titled Guilty. So this, I think it was Elon Musk first kind of promoted a compilation that someone made basically talking about, again, white genocide, basically talking, this was mainstream people, every mainstream pundit that you can think of out there talking about how the white race is on its way down, how we're going to be the minority soon, how there won't be many of us left, and how they're celebrating it in the mainstream. The organizations, corporations, and institutions are celebrating the genocide of the white race. And then you see all sorts of nobodies, all these black folks getting out there on their Twitter talking about wanting to kill white people, how it's their duty to kill white people. It's just absolutely insane. That's the type of stuff that these people can say, the most racist, blatantly racist things. And it's just promoted. It's absolutely sickening. And then it finishes off with Joe Biden talking about how excited he is that the white Europeans like himself will be the minority soon here in the United States. And of course, I had to portray this in an artistic way. I took my Uncle Vic face, I put it on the picture of the 1,000-yard stare, the soldier who's kind of staring off into the distance, a very famous painting. I put that there. You see troops marching underneath. You see Department of Mind War and the Uncle Vic, I Want You for Mind War logo. And then you see the hate logo that I've created. You see that kind of swirling in multicolored kind of psychedelic effect there. Very powerful video. It ends with, of course, Erica Kirk saying, "Stop. That's it," from her very strange interview she did. And of course, this was one of those posts where the post before it got thousands of views, the post after it got thousands of views, but because this was a political post, it only has 135 views, which is very interesting. I don't mind. I don't mind it one bit. The next post, December 20th, 2025. This is the third picture in that series of the Black Mirror. Again, I placed it down on the table outside, and this time I surrounded it with icicles. What a cool project, folks. So we had hundreds of icicles formed in the gutters over at the Mind War Manor because I forgot to clean out the leaves before this big snowstorm. So the snow started to melt, created these huge icicles. I haven't seen icicles like this in decades, right? It just reminded me of my childhood. So what I did is I very diligently, very delicately, on a night when it was started off as 7 degrees, and by the time I got done with the art project, it was only 3 degrees outside. I was freezing this whole freaking project, and it took me well over an hour to do. I was outside freezing my little tail off, but I did it for you. I did it for the art. So I was breaking off these icicles, and so many of them, I would break them off and they would just shatter in my hands. But I was able to get at least, I don't know, it looks like 3 or 4 dozen icicles. I put them in a box. I carried them gently over there and then placed them delicately, one at a time, around the Black Mirror. Such a beautiful picture. It's so amazing. I'm so proud that I was able to get this done. And it just looks like the Black Mirror is just a frozen portal surrounded by these icicles. You go to the next slide there and you see a video. Actually took a video of it, just kind of show all of you what it looked like in kind of real time. We pulled the card of Barith, the 28th demon of the Goetia. Again, you saw me giving my blood offering from the demon from the month before, and then you see just a simple setup of my demon sigil worksheet in my bedroom over at the Mind War Manor. And folks, that brings us to the final and most recent post, the post that I just posted last night. And this was just the new moon. And this one I call Saint Vic. This is kind of an AI version of Uncle Vic. And so this was interesting. So I found a picture of Jesus Christ, a very bright and colorful picture of him. I took it and put it into Microsoft, basically like a paint version. I used the oldest version of Microsoft kind of picture manipulation software that just comes free with Microsoft operating system. It's now defunct. They don't even update it anymore. And basically I took my face, I cut out Jesus's face, I put my face on it, I made a few small changes to it, and then I put it into the AI, and I slowly was asking it, first make it look like a painting, and then make the sun behind Jesus's head turn into a black hole, more like a black mirror. The birds you see in the image there that look like crows originally were doves. So then the next question I ask it, can you please turn the doves into crows? And just over and over and over again, I manipulated the picture more and more until you see the one that you have in front of you. Really cool. I'm, again, so proud of this. This is really my deepest use of AI. It took me hours to get this done. I think it turned out really well. And, I know this sounds a little conceited, but my goal is to have this printed off on one of those big canvas paintings and hang it in my room over in the Mind War Manor. I just really love this picture of Saint Vic. Again, I just pulled the Seven of Wands last night, and it basically talks about some of the issues that I'm going through right now. And then you see the candle out there filled with snow instead of water, a beautiful picture of the full moon. And just an interesting note that Meta, the parent company of Instagram, they work diligently to go through all of Instagram and make sure no one is copying your account and using your images in their account. And they just let me know. It says, Meta Verified is helping you keep your identity safe. We proactively scan for and remove accounts that use your name and photo to impersonate you. We didn't find any impersonation attempts in the last 28 days, and we will continue to monitor on your behalf. I thought that was really great. And so I just made another slide that says, thank you, Meta, for helping to maintain the integrity of my art. Because again, I pay for a blue check mark over on Instagram. I want all of you to know that this work that you see here is actually coming from me. This is my work. This is my art. And this is part of my 7-year art project. It's where it began. It's where I'm displaying it for all of you. So it's very important to me. I'm very thankful that Meta allows that worked so hard to maintain the integrity of that art. And I have found that Instagram has really been the place where the most expression can happen. I see everyone calling X, used to be Twitter, right? The platform for free speech, but I keep seeing people getting blocked over there for the things that they're saying that easily get through over here on Instagram. So again, thank you, Instagram, for that work. But again, folks, that's it. That is the final post, or I should say the most recent post in my magical journey. We're all caught up. And this is what's wild. On the same day that we finish the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl, which is over on the table now, the exact episode where we finish reading through that book, we finalize and come up to my most recent post over on Instagram at The Occult Technician, the magical journey that I've gone through. I didn't plan that, folks. We are on episode, I think 30, this is episode 39, I believe, of the Mind War series on magic, 39 or 40. I didn't plan these episodes. I didn't say in episode 1, we're going to read these pages from the book, and then we're going to look at this X number of posts. And then episode 2, we're going to read the next few pages, and then we're going to look at the next few posts. I just went by the seat of my pants. And 39 episodes later, it just perfectly landed. We're at the final, episode where we finished the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. We also finish up and catch up to my most recent post over on My Magical Journey, on Instagram at The Occult Technician. Just an amazing coincidence, I guess. But that's not it. We're not done yet. We have 2 final episodes here in the Mind War series on magic. We're going to have a 2-part series finale, and those will be the next 2 episodes. I'm not going to give any spoilers. We're gonna go with it. I think they're going to be very dynamic, very epic, just like this series has been. I think you're really going to enjoy what you hear. It's going to be really the culmination, and again, another proof that magic is real, and another example that I am the living proof that magic is real. I hope you've enjoyed this work that we've done here. I hope you enjoy the reading of the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. It was an amazing book. Just the basics of magic. Make sure you go out and get your copy today. Read it diligently. Read it thoroughly. It truly is the basics of magic. And just apply what you learn there and apply what you've seen here, and magic will happen in your life and it will transform your life. I appreciate you being here. And as always, remember, folks, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.